Hey guys, Basil and Will from Grayson Hobby, and today we're going to show you how to bind your Spectrum Satellite receivers for your quads without Betaflight command line binding.
Yep. So today we have a little hardware device here that we're going to offer that's going to be binding your Spectrum Satellite receivers a little bit easier. We get a lot of messages of people going, hey, I can't get my satellite to bind on various quads, etc.
A lot of messages.
Through the software binding.
Right.
So if your quad has the ability to use a separate receiver like the Spectrum Satellites, then this little thing might save the day for you. This little guy right here, we have something special today. This is something that for all you Spectrum guys, I get so many messages every other day specifically about how to bind a Spectrum receiver to their quad. Yes, there is a software binding. Yes, you do have to go to CLI. Yes, you do have to do commands. Yes, you do have to power cycle the battery. However, this changes things.
No
this
way.
Little guy right here. So this, instead of doing software binding, is a hardware bind. Basically, this is taking place of like a bind button on a receiver.
So it's an external bind button?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So for you guys that are having trouble doing the software binding, this is something you can plug in, hook a computer, get your receiver bound, then install it on the quad, and then you don't have to worry about doing all the fancy bind procedure stuff.
Gotcha. So does that stay hooked up to the receiver?
No, this is just a plug it in, bind it, and then switch it off.
So it's a module. Once you're done, you put it in your toolbox.
And there's a couple different, this does DSMX and DSM2, depending on if you push the button when you power it up or not. It also has little pins here. You got a 5-volt pin, 3-volt pin, so if you got like a regular satellite 3-volt, if you got the 5-volt like the Longbows or the 4649 receiver, if you have like a Lemon or a Redcon or a regular, the traditional Spectrum satellites, those are 3-volt. Then you have the receiver pin here, which is the signal, and then you have ground. So you're going to use 3 of the 4 connections here. So again, you got the ground, which is your, in this
usually the darkest color.
Yeah, usually
black or brown.
And then you got the receiver, which is the lightest color, or the signal. And then you got either 3.3 or 5. So you use one of those 2, and then these 2 here.
And that would be like orange or reddish.
Yeah. Now, if you're using a Spectrum Satellite that has the plug like this already still on it, then you can literally just plug it in here.
Wow, fancy. Show me.
Yeah. So
I don't believe it. Plug in that lemon.
Right. Now this is the 3.3. So
you can't do it.
No, I'm saying it is.
Okay.
So if we wanted to bind, take the lemon in this case, and all I'm gonna do now, I want to do DSMX. So all I'm gonna do is this is connected to my computer for a power supply.
So we can add power to it,
and then add power in bind mode.
Okay.
Now I'm gonna take my DX9.
So hold on, we got 2 sets of lights here. We have this guy flashing, means he's in bind mode.
Yeah.
And with this guy is a solid.
Yeah, that one doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Much, though.
All right. So now,
all right, and then so
got your radio. Got your radio.
Good. There you go.
Okay. So
and it's bound. So now I could hook it up to my quad or whatever I want to do.
Now you can install it and just go from there. Okay, cool. All right, so that was pretty easy, the lemon one.
Yeah, this is actually the 4649. This is a 5-volt receiver. I'm going to try it, even though this is only putting out 3 volts and this receiver's not supposed to work that low. We're going to try it anyway. Oh, look at that. It's going in bind mode. Let's see if it actually works, though.
Wait, hold on a second. Let's flip these lights over. The lights are showing.
So...
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds. Telemetry. Bind complete.
That's it.
So it does work with that one as well. That's pretty easy. I just used the 3 of the 4 pins.
Okay. So you didn't do anything special to that, right? You
Nope.
Put it straight in?
Now here's where we get interesting.
All right.
Now, if you're going to use a longbow receiver, that doesn't use the Spectrum pin. As we know, the longbows come with the little smaller connector there and like a servo header. So for the longbow, we're going to take this right here, just like we did the video where you install it. You're going to cut it and tin the leads. So this one's already cut right here. So what I'm going to do is solder the...
So that wire comes with where when in your hand?
This is what comes with the longbow receiver.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we're just going to solder here. Good practicing for solder too if you haven't.
Yeah, because you really can't mess it. I mean, you can mess this up, but
it's easier to mess this up than the quad.
Order. It looks like it goes red.
It's the power, then the signal, which is going to be the yellow.
Okay.
And then the ground is going to be the last one. We got our signal running to the middle. We got the ground running to ground, and the 5-volt, the red running to the 5-volt line.
All right. So basically, we're just providing 5-volt power, right?
Yeah, this is just creating a software bind pin and power at the same time. So when I plug it in, it goes instantly to bind mode.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna take my radio.
We'll watch the lights here.
Give me a second, I gotta go all through these hoops here. All right, so remember, keep your radio a couple feet away with Spectrum.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds.
There it is.
And
It's
it's
bound.
bound.
Bind complete.
So once you have the receiver bound, it's good to go. Then you're gonna just
Unplug
it
and put it in
and
the quad.
then solder it up to the quad and you should be good to go.
Alright, well, see if I have 2 quads.
Mm-hmm.
2 quads.
Okay.
If I solder that on, can I still head and use it with lemon and stuff like that?
Yeah, like with this header on it,
Yeah.
yeah, you can still bind a lemon, or whatever,
Whatever you
want.
want,
Yeah.
yeah.
A regular satellite can still be bound because all that is the same power, but it's not connected to anything.
As long as you don't put your tongue on that, you're good, right?
Yeah, hell, just for the hell of it, let's see what happens.
Okay.
Will it bind multiples?
Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah. So.
Or will it catch your computer on fire?
Yeah.
What? Hold on.
Not.
Binding. DSMX 22 milliseconds.
So you can bind multiple, but
At the same time.
that's the same model, so it's kind of pointless. But
Nothing's ever pointless. We can figure something out.
50.
Alright, now there is a little button on there.
yeah, so the little button, the only purpose for the little button is when you first power it up. If you hold the button and power it in, you'll see it flash twice. That's DSM2.
Okay.
So if you plug it in, it'll flash once. That's DSMX.
Okay.
So that's the only thing that button does. It
Why
doesn't.
in the world will want to go from DSM?
Some older satellites and all that only work in DSM2. Some radios will only bind in DSM2. So if that's the case, that's
You know
the
what?
thing.
Let's put it to the test. Put it in mode. Put it in DSM2.
Okay.
And can we bind it to DSM2?
Well, what we can do is let's see. Let's see if it tells us it's DSM2.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. That's what I meant to say.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put this one in
bind 2 links.
DSM2.
All right, so we're in DSM2 mode.
So now we're gonna bind.
Let's see if we get a DSM2 on the voice recorder.
Binding. DSM2 22 milliseconds.
Wow.
Resolution.
So that does
Bind
work.
complete.
Holy cow.
So it does tell you, it does force it either DSM2 or DSMX. Now, if you bind in DSM2, you'll need to make sure you select DSM2 when you're on the Betaflight. Keep in mind, there are some flight controllers out there that the bind function is still broken. You can't do software binding through it. It does require remote binding. So that's another reason for something like this to be around, is if you run into that issue. This is just probably one of those handy things to have in your tool bag. If you're running Spectrum, it's a good thing to have in your tool bag or in your parts box and all that. For the rainy day when you need something like that and you can't bind it through software.
Right.
So keep in mind, even after binding, you're still gonna have to set up your quad to select Spectrum receiver and everything that you would normally do in Betaflight. But the actual serial software binding, if you guys are having trouble with it, this might be the little solution you guys are looking for right there. And keep in mind, it will bind your standard style satellites like these, the little micros like the Longbow, or even the Spectrum serial telemetries. So anything that you would normally have to do software binding on, then here you go. Now, if you have a quad with an integrated Spectrum receiver like the micros, like the QX65 and all that, you're still gonna have to do software bind. This is for standalone receivers, guys. So this is not gonna work with your QX65s, your QX90s, etc. All those little micros with integrated receivers. All right, so there it is, guys. That's the little satellite binding module that's gonna help. It does come with this paper manual. Oh wait, I'm sorry. The language that you guys can read in English. Not that it really does anything. It's just pushing a button on or off, whatever.
Right. And like we all with all men with
just plug stuff in. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Right.
Or watch the video.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching. Leave us a comment below what you guys think about this little thing. It's really cheap, very inexpensive, and it's a little cool tool that you really don't need, but it helps out a lot, right?
Something for the parts box. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Thanks for watching.